Why psychedelics are becoming more popular. For decades, even long before the perpetual war against drugs was waged by the Reagan administration, psychedelic drugs like the DMT, ketamine, ecstasy, and perhaps the most popular of them all, LSD, have been stigmatized by society due to their supposed adverse effects on one's chromosomes, as well as several organs in the human body. Furthermore, their affiliation with the American counterculture of the 1960s also came as a death blow towards acceptance of these hallucinogenic drugs. So it might come as a bit of a shocker to learn that these days there are movements to bring psychedelics back to the fore. What could make people turn their backs on the notion that drugs like LSD and MDMA could make you and me a strung-out slacker that lacks any desire to contribute to the fabrics of society? What has caused a resurgence in the studies of these drugs to the point where hundreds of millions of dollars is now going into the funding of these studies? The answers may just take you on a trip that would leave you in awe. Come on, let's find out exactly why these psychedelic drugs are becoming more and more popular. Perhaps a good place to start is why psychedelics are riddled with such a bad reputation to begin with. After all, if history is to be accorded with some degree of accuracy, it's best known that the presence of psychedelics has been felt by humanity for thousands of years. For example, it is believed that the tribes of people living in the Amazon basin, that is, people in the countries of Peru and Ecuador, have been drinking psychedelic beverages called ayahuasca for over 1,000 years. This beverage is known to contain elements that can be used to make another psychedelic that you may know as DMT. Furthermore, it is believed that as far back as 1600 BC, ancient Greeks ingested a psychedelic brew called kaikon while celebrating the Eleusinian Mysteries, an initiative ceremony held every year in order to initiate people into the cult of Demeter and Persephone. These beverages were imbibed with the notion that psychedelics were capable of triggering magical or spiritual experiences that would help them communicate with other worldly entities or find the more spiritual aspects of themselves. So how is it that these psychedelics ended up getting a bad rep, despite centuries of affiliation with shamans and spiritualists who only sought to facilitate a form of spiritual connection? You'd have to jump back to 1938, when LSD was created by an ingenious Swiss chemist named Albert Hofmann. While under the employment of Sandoz, a pharmaceutical company, Hofmann created LSD by synthesizing it from lysergic acid, which is a chemical that's created when you carry out the hydrolysis of ergotamine, an alkaloid of a fungus called ergot. Although Hofmann was intrigued by his invention, he didn't really know what he had, and it wasn't until 1943, in the middle of World War II, that Hofmann truly realized what he had. This only occurred because when he decided to take a second look at the element, and in the process of resynthesizing some more lysergic acid, he accidentally came into contact with it, thereby consuming it by mistake. What occurred next was a powerful experience that made him acknowledge the powerful hallucinogenic that he had in his hands. After discovering the potency of LSD, Hofmann and his employers wanted to learn more about their new creation. So they started a crowd research program. They did this by distributing LSD to anyone and everyone who was ready to unlock all the secrets hidden within the wonder drug. This sparked a successful period of research for the drug, which may be making it so popular today. The research showed that monitored use of LSD may actually be capable of helping people who suffer from mental health issues such as anxiety, OCD, depression, or people suffering from addiction. However, this didn't matter much, because during the 60s, LSD slipped out of the hands of the scientists as it made its way to the public. This sparked the recreational use of the drugs, which in turn began its affiliation with the counterculture of the 1960s, which was an anti-establishment movement which permeated its way through the fabric of Western society during that decade. This drew the ire of the American government, who took notice and took steps to ban LSD and other psychedelic drugs before the end of the 1960s, despite trying to figure out how to manipulate the drugs for their own purposes. After all, we've all heard the whispers about the CIA's attempts to use LSD's ability to make people more subjectable as a mind control device. Following the failure of such projects and the continuous growth of the counterculture movement, LSD was made illegal in 1968, before it was classed as a Schedule I drug in 1971 by the UN, and soon other countries followed suit. Following this, pretty much all research concerning all psychedelics, including LSD, came to an abrupt end. Furthermore, the message that drugs like LSD could cause damage to one's brains and their chromosomes was also fed to the public by campaigns such as the Just Say No campaign, which could be said to be an extension of the war on drugs that was waged in the 80s. All these factors fed into the decline in the reputation of psychedelics. However, in recent times, the truth soon came to light, and this is due to the tireless work of those who knew about the benefits of psychedelics that are now becoming popular. In the mid-90s, certain non-profit organisations like MAPS carried out research which proved some of the findings of the 50s and 60s. It was discovered that drugs like LSD, DMT, psilocybin and ketamine could help people experiencing mental health problems, with people who took them explaining how they felt more tolerance and empathy, while some experiencing depression caused by life-threatening diseases like cancer have explained that it has helped them overcome the fear and anxiety that they experienced as they waited for their lives to end. Furthermore, the research has also revealed that not only does it help people suffering from cigarettes and alcohol addiction, they're also not addictive as well. In addition to this, it's been revealed that the misconception that psychedelics can cause damage to the brain and chromosomes of a user is mostly unfounded, as the research carried out so far hasn't resulted in such cases. That is not to say that there still aren't drawbacks. First of all, due to the depth of the research, most of the research carried out is still in its infancy, so the full scale of the effects of psychedelics on an individual is still being determined. However, several experiences, such as bad trips and the exacerbation of certain psychotic conditions, have been detected during the research. However, these are rare instances that leave little to no damage to the mind and body of those who partake in such studies. As such, the basis of the resurgence and popularity of psychedelics lie in their ability to heal people suffering from a range of mental health afflictions. With the passing of certain bills allowing for the legal study and testing of a variety of psychedelics like psilocybin and DMT, the popularity of psychedelics is bound to grow in the years to come. However, this still isn't advocating for the recreational use of psychedelics, as most experts state emphatically that these psychedelics should be used in the right set and setting, a reference to the user's mental state and physical environment at the time of consuming any psychedelic. Nonetheless, there is hope that this new popularity will finally help people find the solution to their mental health problems, and only time will tell if this will be achieved. Till then, we can only watch with cautious enthusiasm.